What is up, everybody? Thanks for joining us again on another video. I hope you guys have been having a great day. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe before we jump into this one. But today I'm joined with Carmelo Garcia. He's been trading options for a minute now. He's had a couple ideas he wanted to toss my way with trading, and he's watched a couple of my videos, said that there are a couple ideas. So I'm really excited to get into this one, man. I appreciate you coming on today.
Definitely, man. Thanks for the opportunity. And what's up to everybody, man? Happy to be here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. So probably want to jump into, the strategy you wanted to start with the most, and then we can go more in depth on it, and you can kind of give your do's and don'ts with trading to help everybody out. And what's your little background? What's your background with trading?
So background, I was actually introduced to probably stocks like around 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm going on 35, so I'm kind of on the older side, probably considering the people you have on the channel. Um, and kind of like dibble dabbled. I'm always interested in it, but I never had like really the stability to, put money consistently in it. And then around 2016, 17, um, I saw this options thing, and that's where my options journey began. Just selling like calls, naked calls and puts, um, like we spoke about before.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just losing a lot of money in the beginning, and then getting to where we are today.
Hands
Yeah.
down, man. Yeah, definitely over that 4 year time. I bet there's a lot of emotions, and I mean, I bet you're pretty happy with where you are today once you made that change.
Oh yeah, definitely. So during the 4 years, like I said, I was selling. I mean, not selling. I was buying calls and puts,
Mm-hmm.
naked. A lot of daily trades, breakouts, um, and then getting caught in a lot of chop. So I would say, I mean, to be real with you, probably the first 3 years where, I mean, I never made money.
Mm-hmm.
I probably had one break even year, and then I just kept losing money until one day I got kind of frustrated
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to quit. I wanted to stop trading options. And then I took like 2, 3 months off, and then I took a course,
Yeah.
and I spent money on it. And it was a little bit more money than I wanted to spend, but I felt like I needed to do that to really get like a person that's been doing this for a long time and get their point of view on it from somebody that's successful and open. And then that's what kind of changed it around for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's where I am today. But basically, I'm most of the time doing a lot of spreads, a lot of long term, leaps, and that's where we are today. And
Fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great to hear, man. So what do you want to jump into first? Kind of your spread strategy or your, I know you really wanted to talk about that, leap poor man's covered call style and getting into that, risk.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the one that I really like. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of content on, credit spreads.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so the leaps with, it's kind of like a poor man's cover call.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at my chart right now, we're looking at Apple, right?
Mm-hmm.
And volatility right now, implied volatility right now is, the lowest it's been in almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
So we would look at a play like this, just looking at this chart and knowing the type of company that Apple is long term, like where's Apple going?
Mm-hmm.
We know if we had to bet on Apple in 2 years, I'm betting, up. If anybody wants to bet down on this, just I'll take your money. I'll take it and put
Yeah,
it
what
down.
they have, was it 90 billion in revenue this last quarter? Like something ridiculous.
Ridiculous, like 90 or 100 billion. It
Yeah.
was something ridiculous. So basically you want to take a stock like this. When anytime you do leaps, you want to take stocks that you want to treat it like stocks that you want to hold for 10 years. Like in your case, you use a lot of stocks, which is why I wanted to talk to you about this.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll take a stock like this and we'll see that it's not at all-time highs. It's probably not at a price where right now where not the best value,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that long term in 2 years, I know that I'm buying Apple. If I were to buy a Leap right now, I know that I'm buying Apple at a good price, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to trade. And what I do is I try to go out as far as possible as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so right now, let's see, it's showing AMD. So let's go to Apple. Okay. Apple. All right. So we'll go to Apple. And right now we have, okay, so we're going out as far as June.
All right.
So right now, Apple's trading at 126, right? To buy 100 shares of Apple right now, that's $12,600. Now,
Yep.
not everybody has $12,600. So,
Right.
or yeah, so not everybody has that. So what I like to do is I like to play the poor man's game, right? So I like to get a leap that's between 75 and 80 delta,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I already have my deltas pulled up. So I like anything between 75, 80, even at 84, you could go up more,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what you like, right? So between 75 and 80, right? That's between what, $100 and $90, right? Now let's look at the price. I'm paying between $3,500 and $3,600
Mm-hmm.
to control 100 shares of Apple that's going to pay me 75 cents to the dollar
Mm-hmm.
for the next 2 years. Now, what, like in height, like me looking at it, why do I want to have $12,000 tied up when I only have to tie up $3,500 to make money?
Yep.
Now, with tying up $3,500, another thing that I could do now weekly is what?
You can sell covered calls.
You can sell covered calls, right? So now I'm leveraging 100 shares of Apple with $3,500, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had $3,500 in Apple shares, you couldn't sell covered calls, all right?
No, that's about how I got about $5,000 in Apple shares and can't sell covered calls. I got 40 shares.
Exactly. So you're basically, your hands are tied right now.
Yep.
All
Yep.
you can do is average down,
Yep. That's it.
right? So, but in order to average down, you need to create more capital to
Yep.
dump into it.
Yep.
Now, Apple's a great company, so nobody's gonna care to average down on Apple. But if you don't have the capital, you're put in a bind. So now I'll look at, okay, how can I make money on this weekly? So I already, from $12,000 that I would have spent on Apple, I already cut my expense down to $3,000, 3,500, 3,600, right? And I'm gonna look to make money on this thing weekly. So if I'm gonna sell calls on Apple, let's say, right now, look at this. Let's say, what's Apple trading at? 126.
Yep. 126.
Okay. So my next question is, looking at our charts, where's Apple not going to by the end of the week, or by the end of next week? What's today, the 10th? Where's
Yeah.
Apple not going to by the end of the week?
Looks like we got 136. I would say that looks like a topping, like a spot where it's topped off pretty much. A lot of supply there, way more supply than
Right.
demand.
So you have a lot of supply there, all right?
Yep.
And then let's see. So we know that here, let's see here. So we know that here, this is where kind of that, right? You said like that
Yep.
136.
Yeah. Right
But
around
let's
there.
say, I mean, it's Monday. We have 4 more days, right? So
Mm-hmm.
let's say we wanted to make money on this thing in a week. Let's look at what 130 looks like
Mm-hmm.
on this chart. 130. So that's about right here. So the last 2 days have been down days.
Mm-hmm.
So would you be willing to write a call on Apple right now at 130
I
for
would
the end of
be.
the week?
Yep. Knowing that I can also roll that, I'd be totally open to it, opening that covered call, especially if they do break their support line. Now, I'm not exactly sure. That's probably your 50-day moving average, I would assume.
No, this one, this is my 90. This is a
Okay.
90 day.
All right, so you're 90 days. So if it breaks through that, right, we could retrace down to 120, which would be an even better case scenario, right, for our covered call. Now
Exactly.
for the leap option, either way, because you have it for 3 years at this, or two years, because you're going to 2023 on it.
Right. So I
My
got
way,
it.
2 years.
I'm going for 2 years, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So June. So let's go back. 9 times out of 10, especially, I try to look at leaps and I say I gotta make at least 100% on my money.
Mm-hmm.
In order for you to make 100% on Apple, where does it have to go to right now? It has to go to $252,
Yep. That's true.
right? Well, I don't have to do that to double my money. Why? Because if I'm going to sell calls on Apple weekly, hypothetically, let's say that we stayed in between that 40 to 25 mark. So let's say $35. If I made $35 52 times, that's already half of my position,
Yep.
right? I already made 50% on my plate, right? That's considering that Apple doesn't go to whatever, $90, whatever the case may be, between now and the time that we get it.
Yep.
So we have it for 2 years. So let's say I'm going to write this thing for 52, let's say 75 weeks, right? So 75. And we said we want at least $35 from it
Yep.
weekly. That's $2,600. So now my break even is what, $800 from what I originally bought it,
Yep.
right? So now I saved myself about 8 grand by buying the leap. I have 2 years. I have weekly income coming in, right? I know that I have a break even, and we haven't even talked about Apple actually making me money yet.
Yep.
So we have two plays, right? So we have the leap running, we have our cover call making me money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Closer to my break even.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sweating Apple dropping 4 or 5 points in a day.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, your portfolio is probably a little red on Apple, right?
Today,
Or
yeah.
maybe if it's not, it went down a little bit,
Oh, today, yeah, for sure.
right? But if you were selling cover calls on it, you could care less.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I would have been like, "What's that? Whatever,"
You could care
But
less, right?
yeah,
Okay, so yeah. All right, so that's the second way.
yeah.
So we're gonna sell cover calls, right? There's a third way. If we know direction on Apple, what are we doing in another account? We're gonna do call spreads and we're gonna do put spreads,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're already trading Apple.
Yep.
We already know the direction. Why am I not gonna capitalize on making money on this thing?
Yep.
Right?
Spot on.
What you do with the so that's three things. And then now this is the important thing that I wanted to show you guys. So the best thing about a leap is, and I'll start with this. If Apple goes up to 150, how do you pull profits from Apple? What's the only way that you can do that with stock?
Oh, I gotta sell all my shares.
Sell all your shares or sell partial,
Part of them,
right?
yeah.
And
Yep.
say, oh, well, I want to sell some of the gains and put them off to the side.
Yep.
With an options leap, you don't have to do that.
Mm-mm.
You can stay in the position. And I mean, it's really easy. All right. So let's say that we bought a 100 strike, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we always want to stay in that 75 to 80, right? So let's say Apple did run to, what's it trading at right now? 125?
126.
Okay, 126. Let's say Apple ran to 150. If Apple runs to 150 and you have 100 shares, how much money is that?
15,000.
15,000, right? So $15,000. Well, how much money would you have made? So $25 times 100
Mm-hmm.
is so you're gonna make $2,500, right?
Yep.
Altogether. So already you selling calls on this thing weekly, you're almost matching what you would have made on just the shares moving.
Yeah, that's spot on, man.
So I'm not trying to discourage anybody from buying shares. I just want to give big people different outlooks. I
100%.
don't have to get out of this play at all. I can say, all right, cool. Apple went from 125 to 150. Perfect. If we look at the price premiums, the differences between 125 and 150, 25 points, we're talking about $1,000 difference.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I do with this play? If it gets to 150, guess what my delta is gonna be when my 100 call, I roll it to 125. It's
Right.
gonna be 75.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna roll my play up from 100
Mm-hmm.
to 125 to keep it at that same delta. Now, what does that do? That gives me the difference between my 100, right,
Yep.
and the 125, which is $1,400. As soon as I roll this thing up, I'm gonna get $1,400 deposited into my account, and I still have control of my 100 shares.
Yeah, that's huge.
So why would I now I go all the way back to the front. So why do I want to own 100 shares of Apple? Now, if you want to own them this way. Do this every time you make money off of this, you buy shares with it.
Mm-hmm. And the other
Do
thing
it that
too,
way.
if you hold it, right? If you hold it into expiration, because you actually want 100 shares physically, let's say, because your leap did so well, and you wanted to use that capital somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to keep your profits, right? You could then exercise and say, let's say Apple is 150 2 years from now, or let's say it's even higher, like 200. You bought the $90 call, so you get to own 100 shares at $90, right? And that's even crazier, right? So you're already going to be up $110 a share if it was 200 on your
Mm-hmm.
100 shares. So that's another really cool thing. And then from that point, you could just sell covered calls on the shares if you wanted. If you decided like, hey, I like Apple where it is, I'm
Mm-hmm.
done with my leap, or then you could pick a new leap and then continue to roll it. Like, I love how you roll that up too. You roll it up to the back to the 75, like 0.75 delta.
Yeah, you don't want to get too close, right? Because then you can't sell covered calls against it if
Right.
if
It
it's
dips. Yep.
not in the money anymore.
Yep.
So you always want to give yourself some wiggle room. Um, but I mean, think about it. Um, if you took the money that you had in Apple right now,
Yep.
you'd be able to write, well, not exactly two, but let's say you added a little more,
Yeah.
allocated a little more capital. You could
Yep.
control 200 shares of 200 shares of Apple, and you're gonna make money four ways. We're gonna make money owning, right? Actually, having the June 16 option, right? We're gonna make money if this thing runs, and when it runs, we don't have to sit here and say, man, it ran, I'm going to sell the option. No.
Yeah,
What the
exactly.
role lets you do is it gives you comfort. Why? Because, oh, this thing made $1,400. Okay, let me get my $1,400, Apple,
Yep.
and I'm still going to sell calls against you. All right. And if that call that day doesn't work out for me, I can roll it. Or if I know I'm going into earnings those next 2 weeks,
Yeah. Yep.
I know that I need to, either stay away from selling calls for 2 weeks because I know that's where we get into those run ups.
Yep.
And you don't want a headache selling 40, making $40
Oh yeah,
be
making
$30. So you don't want that headache. You just
exactly.
really looking to make money for the 2 years.
And the cool thing with leaps, right, is they're the least affected by implied volatility.
Right.
That's the
You're
other thing.
not
So
affected by earnings next week.
yeah, they aren't. Yeah, exactly. They're not gonna be. You're not gonna wake up and your contract's gonna be crushed.
Bro, look at this thing. 30%.
It's
Come on.
crazy.
So I mean, right there alone, if we just did the math again we're looking at 35 times 75, 35 times 75, we're looking at $2,600, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 2,600, and let's say we were at 35, so 2,600 bucks, right? And then let's say Apple gives you a 14, let's say this leap makes you $1,400. That's over 100%. That's $4,000 you made. And
That's a leap.
you didn't break a sweat. You still got your initial capital and you're making money. That $4,000, you could put it into whatever you want. If you like dividend stocks, sure, go,
Yeah.
rock out. If you want to keep buying shares, go ahead. But you're saving yourself a lot of capital by using this strategy.
Yeah.
As
100%.
long as you're not a complete idiot, and I'm sorry to all right,
No,
this is how we talk. I don't know. This is how I
no,
talk to my friends. Like, bro,
you're
you're
spot on, man.
like you're an idiot.
I
As
do that
long
all
as you're
the
not
time.
buying like at the very top,
Yeah.
and I think even if you are 2 years out on a great company, I don't even think it might not even affect you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love it. I mean, I think if I have 12 grand to allocate to 100 shares, I would much rather use those 12 grands in leaps.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make what, I could buy 3-4 leaps.
Yep.
So
Weekly income.
$35. I'm making 100 and some change weekly. Anytime this thing moves, I'm gonna be able to pull money out, right, as I please.
Yep.
Stay in that 75 range anytime this thing runs, and I'm able to stay in the play.
Yep. Spot on.
I'm
And
not gonna get shook out.
what's your opinion too on, someone's got 12 grand, right? And instead of buying 100 Apple shares and just sitting on them,
Mm-hmm.
let's say they bought one leap, for a 3,500, right? That's what we're
Mm-hmm.
saying. Around 3,500, they buy one leap, and then you use the other, roughly $8,000, 8,500, and then we run credit spreads, for 2 weeks out or a weekly, and instead of having that 12 grand locked up, now you have all this extra money that you can leverage. And, there's more risk when you leverage stuff, right? Like there's no guarantee when that you entered a credit spread that's going to work out, right? Like you can lose collateral, you can
Of course.
lose, but
Of
you can
course.
always roll these, right? Same with this leap. Like you can roll this leap if you need to. You can
Oh
still
yeah,
keep those
absolutely.
covered
As a
calls
matter
every
of
week.
fact, why wouldn't I? I mean,
Yeah.
as soon as I get, let's say I'm 75 weeks into this thing,
Yep.
I'm already going to start looking at, especially on a dip, all right, where I know it's a correction in the market. Guess
Yep.
what I'm doing? I'm looking at this leap and I'm saying, how much is it going to cost me? Mind you, I already grabbed 4,000. I'm playing with house money already.
Yep.
How much is it going to cost me to flip this into a year or 2 years out again?
Yeah.
So now I'm, oh, well, the leap is going to expire because this is the thing, all the people that are heavy on stocks, this is the thing. Well, what's your exit strategy? It's like, you don't really need one.
Mm-hmm.
You can stay into this thing as long as it's a good company. Mind you, my exit strategy is once I make 100%, I could leave.
Yep.
Did you make 100% on your 100 shares? Probably not. I didn't have to wait.
Yeah. That's power.
So to your I'm sorry, I know
Oh,
we
you're
like
good, man.
jumping back and forth, but to what you were saying, so with the 12 grand, let's say we put 3,500 in this league, perfect. I still have what, 8 grand left.
Yep.
Take 4 grand, run spreads with that, conservatively.
Yep.
Let's say, hey, you can even take 5 grand. Take 5 grand. Let's say you want to make 6%, 5%.
Yep.
That's $300 a week.
Can't beat it, man.
I mean, you're gonna make $300 a week. You're gonna make money weekly on this thing, writing the call, right?
Yep.
And then leave $1,000 or $2,000 to get on each side of Apple. If you're watching Apple every day, why aren't you making money off this thing every way that you could possibly can?
Yep. 100%, man.
So we could do call spreads, we could do put spreads. We already know the direction. We follow this thing every day. We know what implied volatility is weekly because we're selling calls against this. Now, the only thing is, obviously, if you're doing this with selling calls, you can't do the spread on think or swim. You would have to go to Robinhood or Webull and you run your spreads there.
Yep.
But I mean, so what?
Yeah.
You're
So
not
what, man?
you're not
Well,
going to work for 8 hours,
yeah, that's spot on, man. That
you
is
know?
perfect. Yeah, why not add money to your life like that, like passively? We're leveraged, but that's what gives us the power to, compound our money like that, is the fact that
And
we're leveraged.
and with this strategy, I mean, I guess coming from when I started trading with scalping and all that high risk
Hmm.
stuff, doing lotto plays, out of the money, like all
Yep.
that crazy stuff. Coming from that to this is like, I don't feel like I'm leveraged. I don't feel like the market could crap tomorrow and I don't feel anything. It's
Hmm.
like, okay, I have 2 years. I'm making money every day. I'm making money every week off of this.
Yep.
So, I've been following your channel, probably for like, I would say maybe like 3 months, probably a little bit longer. But
Appreciate
I've watched a lot of the guys that come on here, like Matt. You have a
it.
guy
Maz.
Maz,
Yep. Halcyon.
him, the other guy
Oh,
Theta
Theta Profit. Yeah.
Profit. So I seen your interviews with them, and you learn stuff from everybody. Like
Yeah.
Maz was doing something that I never really thought about. Like I know he's a leg in person,
Hmm.
so he writes the put credit spreads. Me, I don't touch put credit spreads unless I feel like we're mid range.
Hmm.
Like right now, middle of the week, I would wait for the end of the week, see what it looks like, and if there's a bounce, then I get underneath it.
Hmm.
But anytime SPY is all time highs, there's no way I'm getting underneath SPY. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you can make money off this thing 4 ways, you
Yep.
know.
Yeah, you
So
can't beat it, man.
that's my leap strategy. I also do spreads on SPY. I really just focus on SPY.
Yep.
I don't look at anything else. I have a lot of other friends that do different stuff, as far as like they get into the Teslas and all of that. But I mean, for me, it's just easy to pick one thing, set my play up Friday or Monday, and then just go enjoy the rest of my week
Yeah.
or go to work and that's it. You probably didn't think, well, I don't have to close it. I could just collect my money. Let me get my credit that's already built into the play and
Yep.
keep running.
No, you're spot on with that, because I've only ran covered calls with shares, as you've probably seen in a lot of my
Mhm.
covered call video, where I'm like, hey, I'm running, let's say I got 100 shares of Carnival. I was running covered calls on that for a long time, collecting like $60 a week, with just the shares. But like, if I just did that with a leap option, who's to say tomorrow? Like, honestly, I probably should. Carnival's in a good spot. Like, I could pick up a leap option on it tomorrow and continue to sell weekly covered calls. And I bet that leap doesn't cost more than what 100 shares would cost me to own. I like Carnival over the next 2 years as we start to reopen. So
Mhm.
I might just have to jump right on that, this coming
Yeah.
week. Give
You
it a
know
shot.
what's you know what's funny? I have a friend that he just quit his job like 2 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and he started trading last year. Um, and he built up his account.
Yeah.
Obviously, his financial situation is very different, but it leads me
Yep.
to this.
Yep.
Um, it is so important to have low overhead if you want to stop doing whatever it is that you do for a living and trade.
Yes.
I mean, like, the crazy car payments, the dumb expenses, all of that. Like you have to nip that in the butt while you're learning this, because when you start making the real money, and I'm not saying I make real money, right? I still have a day job, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting there, right? It's a
Yeah.
buildup.
Yeah. You're building
I'm
it, man.
I'm not taking this money that I'm making, which is like, oh wow, especially with the spreads bring in like
Oh, yeah,
weekly
weekly
income, and you're just like,
income. Dude, I
man,
go
the
crazy
accounts
with it
are just
sometimes.
going. Like, I can't believe this is like even real.
Yeah.
That's like the first couple months that you do it, you're like, how's this possible?
Then you start,
Um,
yeah.
but it's so important for people to, live below your means, man. Like,
Yeah.
live below your means. Because my friend did that. He actually started paying everything off, dumbed down his lifestyle, and then he said, once I start making 4 or 5 grand a month, which at his job I think he was making like way less.
Yeah.
Um, Once I double my salary consistently for 6 months, he's like, there's really no reason for me to continue going to work because the more time I spend on this, the more time, you know, I'm gonna be able to do it now. Everybody's situation is different. A lot of people have
100%.
overhead. Some people maybe want, I would like a $200,000 cushion, or people that make money and
Yep.
have families, kids, and all of that. Some people want a nice cushion, you know. Like in my case, I want a nice cushion, um, and that's why the only reason why I still continue going to work because it's helping me. I'm taking 60, 70% of my income from work, and I'm just
Throwing it in. Yep.
dumping it in. And I don't want a boat. I don't want anything. I want freedom. I want to
Yep.
be the quicker I can put money into this to keep compounding, even if it's 3%, 5, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Weekly. I mean,
Weekly. It's just it's like a second paycheck right now that it will eventually, grow into your main paycheck. And then who's to say, like, with your other, now you got all this free time, you don't start something else that you're into or double that you're already rocking with, now
exactly.
maybe you get
Yeah,
more
like,
comfortable with that cushion,
right.
and just it's crazy. You can it all like the more you save and compound money, the crazier it is. And that, like, like doubling 10K or doubling 1,000, right? You make 1,000. But if you
Seems
double,
like nothing.
yeah, you
But
double
there's
10,
no difference between doubling 1,000 to 1,000 and 10 to 20 or 50 to 100. There's literally, it's just more zeros.
yeah,
That's the only difference,
yep,
you
spot on.
know?
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Did you get to touch on everything this episode? I plan on having you on some more if you're down
Yeah,
the
yeah,
road.
sure, man. Sure.
Cool. We can go
Definitely.
update on your positions. We could go into whatever you're up for, man. Whatever you want to talk about down the road. But I think it's a great spot to end the video.
Oh, and then another thing, just real quick, I completely forgot. I knew I was gonna forget something.
Yeah, no
So
worries.
if we looked at that same 100, people are
Yeah.
gonna be like, well, nobody's gonna be in that thing. How are you gonna get out of it? Well, I mean, there's 1,700 people currently in it, and
Yeah.
it's for June. So, I mean, keep an eye on it weekly. You're selling calls on it weekly, so just keep an eye on it. It's not like you're gonna have 1,000 open contracts on this thing. So,
Yeah, exactly.
come on, bro, don't freak out. Like,
That's spot on. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man.
all right, man. I appreciate you, man. Y'all have a good night.
Yep. All right. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Carmelo will be back on pretty soon. And I hope you guys like this addition to our little, trading YouTube community. So we'll chat with you guys soon. Take care.